is Jong Kim. It's a great pleasure to have you all here. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence at the Jeju Halla University in Korea and at the University of Augsburg in Germany. Sorry. Over the past few years, we are experiencing an extraordinary acceleration in both AI, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And especially this year, 2026, stands out as a most remarkable year for innovation in robotics. For example, one of the key messages from CES this earlier year is that while robotics research has traditionally focused on achieving more natural movement and human-like movement and so on. But we are now entering a new phase where the robots are beginning to define their own specialized forms of movement rather than mimics human-like movements and so on. At the same time, AI is increasingly integrated to robotics, for example, to enable spatial intelligence and mission intelligence, etc. And all of these is putting robots in a new level of autonomy and capabilities. All these recent technological developments suggest us that AI robots, therefore, are not no longer evolving along AI robot co-evolution. So we are entering into a new co-evolutionary structure in which they mutually reinforce each other. For example, advances in algorithm. This is transforming all scenes of our physical AI systems now, while real-world data generated by robots in physical environments, this data is feedback to AI systems again, and this creates again a continuous loop of improvement. As a result, nearly every domain of human activity is now reshaping. This goes, as we know, beyond simple automation or digital transformation. It represents a turning point in which humans, machines, and the environments are becoming interconnected together within a shared new learning ecosystems. In this session today, we aim to explore the question, how should human evolve alongside the co-evolution of AI and robotics? And we will also discuss near-term technological advance and social changes. And we also consider a practical strategic framework for turning a human AI robotics co-evolution from a potential risk into a real opportunity for us. So now, I'd like to introduce the speakers who have to make this session possible in the order of presentations. First, we have Professor Dong-woo Kim, the director of the AI Philosophy Research Center at KAIST. He'll deliver the keynote address on human AI co-evolution, focusing on three fundamental questions about what it means to be humans in the age of AI. Professor Dong-woo Kim. Applause, please. So, Next, we are honored to have Professor Dr. Martin SCHRIMPF from EPFL in Switzerland. He will explore the question, could we same artificial intelligence that is reshaping our daily lives also help us understand and one day maybe repair our human brains? So he is connecting online, and I hope he will be available now. So following that, we have Professor Yeon from Seoul National University, who will speak about smart cities in the era of AI and robotics. Please stand up and bowing. Thank you. And then we welcome Dr. Jong, head of the AI Robotics Research Division at ETRI. Her presentation is titled From a Specialist to a Companion Generalist. Finally, we are pleased to introduce Professor Jong from Gyeongbok National University. He will address the ethical challenges of co-evolution in the age of artificial intelligence. So we are truly grateful to have such an exceptional panel of experts with us today. And now, first up is Professor Kim, please.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be part of this session with distinguished professors and researchers in AI and philosophy. It's very exciting, and thank you, Jong Kim, for putting all this together, and to the team who organized make this possible. All right. So today I'll talk about human AI co-evolution, my own perspective on what it is. All right. And I would like to begin actually with an anecdote of mine, my own experience. Okay. So about 10 years ago, I flew to the United States, landed on JFK Airport, New York. I was about to begin my PhD program in philosophy. I presented my dossier to the border control officer, immigration officer, and he took a look at my dossier. My visa was valid for 8 years, which is a bit longer than for usual, than usual. So he looked up at me and asked me, "Oh, why is it so long, your visa?" Right? And I told him, how can I know? Maybe philosophy takes some time. I have to take courses, write dissertation, and so on, right? And he said, "Oh, but you could be a real doctor, right? In 8 years." By that he means medical doctors, right? Who can cure cancers, but philosophy PhD, though doctor, right, didn't count as a real adult profession. Okay. So, I have thought about this. I think it's a good joke, right? And I've thought about this for a long time and many times. And it encapsulates a common assumption, maybe a prejudice, if you will, that philosophy is useless. Okay, but we're all here to talk about some of the philosophical issues or ethical issues underlying the recent development of, most advanced technologies, right? And I'm trained as a philosopher, and I'm the first speaker, so something strange is happening, right? And suddenly, all of a sudden, with the rapid development of technology, everyone wants to talk to a philosopher. I often meet business executives, I had like a lot of media interviews these days. I mean, all of a sudden, like in recent couple of years. Right? Why? So as a philosopher, I welcome the change. I love my discipline. I want my discipline to be useful. But I'm very curious and puzzled. Why all of a sudden, philosophy has always been important, but people somehow recently slowly starting to recognize its importance, and wanted to give my own answer to that. So why all of a sudden people pay some attention to philosophy? And I would like to connect that to human AI co-evolution. Okay, my argument, which is the main theme of this talk, is very simple. I would like to argue that philosophy is now not just a contributing factor, but a key to human flourishing, or rather human AI co-evolution. And today, so I'd like to present my own argument for that claim. Okay, so let me begin with an example of a student, an imaginary student inspired partly by a real one, whose identity I will not disclose. Okay, so this student aspires to build an AI communicator that can translate between humans and whales. And so it's going to be a real channel of communication, just like any translator. And he wants to use it. Why does he want to build it? Well, he wants to use it to protect marine environment, okay? To let the whales, so to speak, save for themselves, right? Okay. Maybe 10 years ago, you might have laughed off at this idea, but if you now think about it, it's kind of realizable, right? I mean, at least we reckon that it's realizable. And what I want to suggest, a student like this, or such a student, is already co-evolving with AI. So it's an instance of human AI co-evolution, and it's already happening. And here's what I mean by this. Okay, so these are three fundamental questions of philosophy originally formulated by Immanuel Kant, which I adapted a little bit. So if you take a look at this first question, for Kant this is the question about knowledge, but I would like to understand this question as a question about our ability, right? So what are the new abilities we get with these technologies? Second, for Kant this is a general problem about human action, but I would like to understand this question as a question about human responsibility. And third question, what we may hope for, that's a question about hope. Okay, so ability, responsibility, hope. So let's see what AI does to these three questions for the imaginary student. So let me see. First, he now comes to believe that he can understand the inner life of whales, right? That's a new possibility that we could never imagine in the past. And it gives a new sense of responsibility to the student. He feels new obligation to create something that can, by which we can understand the inner life of living organisms on Earth, and thereby help save the environment. Okay, and he also permits himself a new hope. What it takes understanding new species, which was merely a fairy tale a few years ago. So it changed the boundaries of his world by changing his abilities, his responsibilities, and his hope. And that I take to be human AI co-evolution. It's not just that machine give us something, right? Or you change your body part, okay? It just expands the boundary of our world. Okay, so since we're running out of time, I'll rather move rather quickly. So far as I can see, the task of philosophy. Why is philosophy key to human AI co-evolution or human flourishing? And that's because it allows us, it gives you conceptual tools, reinterpretation of human values, so that you can become the true author of your own life by reinventing our apologies, abilities, responsibilities, and hopes. Okay. But you might wonder why philosophy in particular. And here's my quick response, and that's because human decisions and actions are all value-laden. And here's what I mean by this. So, I mean, there is no student who simply read a textbook during a closed book exam. If you have such a student, the first reaction, your first reaction would be that the person is cheating, the student is cheating, right? You just don't stand up so that someone else can sit. Rather, you give up your own seat for them, right? In this way, our basic understanding of the world is intrinsically value-laden, okay? So, human actions and decisions should be justified by reasons of the appropriate kind in terms of values. Okay, so, here are the questions. So here, is it okay to slap a AI robot assistant in the face if it doesn't work well, just as you hit your computers or monitors in the past, right? Or should we develop Mars if there is life out there, right? So you cannot answer these questions by looking at figures on sheets, right? You have to have a new understanding of human values to answer these questions. Okay, so I would like to say the future of human AI co-evolution will be set by our decisions on human and social values, reinvention of those fundamental values. Okay, so our task now, and the task of philosophy today, is value transformation. You have to reinterpret and you have to reinvent human values. Okay, and philosophy will offer the intellectual foundations for this mission, conceptual toolkits, self-understanding, social responsibility, and vision for the future. That will be the end of my talk. Thank you so much for your attention. Do we get questions? Not now, okay. Thank you so much.
Right, good morning, or rather good afternoon. I'm assuming you can hear me. If you cannot hear me, I'm hoping one of the moderators will start shouting. So first, thank you very much to Professor Jong Kim and to the entire organization team for having me today. I would love to be there in person, but right now I'm coming to you live from Switzerland. And what I want to tell you about is I think more of a silent revolution, but one that is increasingly perking up in a field that is called Neuro-AI, which uses AI to not only understand, but also increasingly to treat the brain. And I'll tell you a bit about how exactly that goes. So this field arises from the basic question that has been asked for decades to probably centuries, which is how is it that the brain inside our heads gives rise to the mind and all of the wonderful behaviors that we as humans are able to exhibit. And just to contextualize this a bit, the answers to this question have come a long way. So in the early days, we did not have access to the brain directly. And instead, what people like, for instance, Franz Joseph Gall were referring to try to infer the neural faculties underlying human intelligence was to feel the skull and try to interpret the different shapes to understand how intelligent someone might be. This, of course, now is old news. And with technologies like electrode arrays, we have a lot more access to recording neural activity directly from the brain so that we can really go into detail and make sense of the exact activity that is going on. And a bit of the revolution that is now happening is shown on this graph, where the x-axis shows you the years And the y-axis shows on a log scale how many neurons individually we can record from. So one dot here is one experiment. And as you can probably see, this is an exponential curve that is only increasing. So we're having access to a lot more data, more and more so. And this is only further exerted by new technologies like fMRI or MEG or EEG, where we do not have to record activity invasively, but rather can record non-invasive fingerprints. So the point I want to make here is that this is all wonderful technology, and we're getting a lot of brain data. So now it's up to the field to try and make sense of that data. And that's exactly when AI comes in, where the overarching goal is now to create a digital brain model of the human brain and potentially other brains to understand and treat the mind. So this will have implications for basic science to help us understand how human intelligence works. It might lead to next generation AI algorithms. And what I'm most excited about and what I also want to tell you about is potential applications of translating this technology. So the way this field works is that it's at the intersection of brain and cognitive sciences on the one side and artificial intelligence, machine learning on the other side, where brain sciences bring quantitative measurements and machine learning brings computational hypotheses that make fine-grained predictions. And then the idea is that we can use to test the model, and we can use the models to make better predictions. And then the faster we can make this cycle go, the better it will be. So what I want to tell you today are kind of, through three brief sections, how we test models, how we can build better models, and then finally also how we can apply these models towards brain treatments. So for testing, the picture you should have in your minds is something like this, where we have humans and AI models perceiving the same kinds of visual input, and then we measure internal activity from them and compare it against one another. So for instance, the visual input might be a movie like this one, that I'm not going to show in its full extent, and then the brain activity might look something like this, here recorded with fMRI non-invasively, and then the model activity we can easily capture from the artificial intelligence model. So in this case, these are deep neural networks. And so what we are now building is a platform called BrainScore that takes a lot of behavioral measurements and neural measurements and now tests the alignment of computational models to the human brain and behavior. So this is an increasingly large platform. I think it's the largest of its kind in this field with over 100 different benchmarks, thousands of models tested, and hundreds of thousands of users across hundreds of institutions across the globe that use this platform every year. And I want to show you some results of what comes out of this platform. So for instance, this is a very old model. This is a classic neuroscience model where I'm showing you this model. So this model is called HMAX. And on the x-axis, I'm showing you the model predictions. On the y-axis, I'm showing you the actual data. If this was a good model, it would, like the dots would line up along the diagonal. So you can probably tell that this is not a good model. So this is a model that came out of kind of old school classic neuroscience. In contrast, here's a more recent model coming from this NeuroAI research program. So this is a model that's based on a VCHEPA-based model. And I probably do not need statistics to convince you that the model on the right is a lot better than the model on the left. So in fact, these kinds of models are already predicting around half the brain signal that we can record in the visual system, both in the spatial and the temporal domain. So to show this in another way, here are several brain areas and different parts of them, with the x-axis as just seconds of movie watching, and the y-axis being the measured activity in green versus the model prediction in blue. So not perfect, but arguably the blue model prediction tracks the actual brain data in green pretty closely, and I think it's pretty cool that we can actually predict at this level. So if you now test many models, and I've shown you kind of two extremes of this whole range, it turns out that some models are much better than others. And what I'm showing on the y-axis is now just the average alignment. So basically, high would mean that a model is very similar to the brain, and low would mean that a model is not similar to the brain. So why is it that some models are better than others? And it turns out that the reason for this is that task performance, as in like how good the models perform on an AI task, is extremely predictive of how aligned they are to the brain data. So the point I want to make here is that optimizing in an AI-first way actually yields brain-like models, as shown here in vision. And in fact, the same idea is not just true in vision. So here's an example of measuring brain data for the language system. So here subjects are presented with text, so words, sentences, entire stories, and then the same text is presented to large language models. And turns out that some of these models are actually extremely predictive of the activity in the human language system. So for instance, here's a GPT-2 model that is highly. And again, just to kind of show you visually again how closely the models can actually predict the brain data in these settings. So again, here it turns out that the more performant models are, so the better language models predict the next word in a sequence, the more aligned their internal representations become to the language system. So again, we see this effect where models converge to brain-like function. And I want to show you that this is true in many different domains. I've shown it to you in vision and language, but other researchers have also found this for auditory processing and proprioception. So this is a key convergence result where AI actually converges towards human-like and brain-like solutions. Now, the obvious question from this is, will AI optimization alone actually give us digital human brains? And the way in which AI these days, of course, is optimizing is via scaling, so putting a lot of compute and many data samples towards the test. So we were asking, does AI-like scaling alone actually give us better and better neural alignment? So this is kind of the story I've told you so far, right? Like more AI-like means more brain-like. But it turns out with the latest models and like over the last maybe 2 to 3 years, this has actually stopped advancing. And it has stopped advancing in many different architectures. It doesn't really matter what kind of model using, what kind of training paradigm using. This in general seems to have plateaued. So it seems like AI optimization has gotten us maybe halfway there, but there's still a big gap left, like remaining to get us fully brain-like models. And what we're seeing now is that we can actually combine task optimization with a brain-like optimization and kind of a hybrid training scheme where we combine a behavioral task signal from AI with an internal regularization signal from the brain data. So that might be the other half that gets us to actually fully brain-like models, which necessitates large-scale data collection, as you might already be seeing in many other fields in science. So one bet for building brain-like models is to combine large-scale data with large-scale compute and then a neural AI expertise on top, which is, so there are some similar ideas in biology. So assuming we get towards these really good models, I want to spend these last minutes on telling you what these kinds of models can actually enable. So I told you in the beginning that they help us for basic science, maybe for future AI, but I think one really key aspect that is not yet as prominent in the public is that these models are extremely effective potentially for future clinical applications. So here's one example of that. This is, I think, one of my my favorite experiments ever in neuroscience, where this is a patient who has electrodes implanted in a part of his visual cortex that is responsible for faces. And what they do is they stimulate those electrodes and ask him to describe what he's perceiving. So at first, they don't do stimulation just to check, but then they turn on the electrodes, and what he's describing is that even though there's obviously no face on the book, when they stimulate his brain, he actually starts to perceive faces on the book. And I'm not going to show you the whole video, but this is repeated over many different trials. And it's a very effective way of showing causally how we can actually induce perception in a human brain. So the question we now had is, can we use computational models to make these stimulation effects a lot more precise and actually predict what the perfect stimulation should be? And so it turns out now that with these models, we can simulate neural perturbations in them. So we can simulate what would happen if we stimulate that part of the brain. And then we can bring that back to the actual brain stimulation, such that we now test if the human or primate behavior is similar to the predicted model behavior. And to a first extent, I'm showing here the model predicted behavior from model-guided microstimulation versus the actual behavior in a primate. To a first extent, this actually seems to work. Far from perfect, but I think very promising that we can actually use AI towards actual model-guided stimulation. So very quickly, I want to show you one last non-invasive example in dyslexia. So dyslexia is a disorder where people have a reading deficit, and it's thought to arise from hypoactivation, so reduced activity in the visual word frame area. Now, we can actually induce in vision language models, we can induce a similar deficit. And on top of that, we can use them to create now fonts that will make it easier for humans with dyslexia to read as guided by the dyslexic model. Okay, I am out of time, so I just want to say that there are many more things that we can do with these models, and wrap up to tell you again that AI models actually converge to brain-like solutions up to a point. We can make them even better by scaling data optimization. And then finally, these kinds of models enable some really breathtaking advances in driving new experiments and also clinical. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Jong CHOI from ETRI. My topic today is companion robot beyond the specialist toward a human coexisting generalist. I built the robot you see here, quadruped robot that guide the blind, humanoid robot that interact with people, and the autonomous shuttle bus that moves through our cities. The future of robotics is not only about what robots can do, it is about what role they should play in human society. Can we create robots that truly understand and empower humanity? That is the challenge we face as engineers. To answer that question, we first need to look at how AI has evolved. Over the past decade, AI has moved through 4 stages: data AI, generative AI, and autonomous agent, and physical AI. The key shift is this: intelligence is moving beyond the screen and entering a physical body, enabling robots to perceive, decide, and act in the real world. So what is physical AI? As Jensen Huang of NVIDIA says, it brings digital intelligence into the physical world. It stands on 3 pillars. Perception, it fuses camera, lidar, and radar to read 3D space. And reasoning, a world model predicts what happens next. Third action, a VLA model controls the robot in real time. See, think, act. That closed loop is the essence of physical AI. So where does this intelligence come from? Data. Robots in the field become huge data factories. They make data while they work, and that data grows the robot. Step 1 is a collection. Boston Dynamics and Hyundai humanoid atlas running a Labonaki. So we capture human motion, turn it into skeleton data, retarget it to the robot, train in simulation, then bring it back to the real robot. The engine is reinforcement learning. The robot moves the world scores, it good or bad, like a child learning to walk by falling. Boston Dynamics says in just 24 hours, Atlas simulates 1 year's worth of human trial and error data. And we collected it in the real world. We multiplied it in simulation. So how does all this data converge toward a smart policy? The real robot senses its surroundings, and the data is rebuilt as a twin robot in the virtual world. Learning happens here. The twin tries countless times and build its strategy. Then it sends the action back to the real robot. Three forces work together: algorithm evolution, real-world data generation, and model enhancement. And here is the point. The robot failed safely in the virtual world first, before it ever touches the real one. We've seen how physical AI works. Now, what do we build? Two tracks. One is a specialist and another is a generalist. The specialist, or robot master craftsman, master's secret is in the fingertips. Decades of fields can't be written down, so a human teleoperates the robot to pass it on, limitation learning. True master generalized to unseen use cases, that is robotness. We also use lightweight algorithms such as HAI, learning on a low-power chip. Finally, progressive mastery, a hierarchical learning model from intern to master craftsman. This case study shows the field result of humanoid robot at BMW SCHRIMPF and their impact on manufacturing operations. First, production contribution. Two figure 02 robots have produced more than 3,000 BMW X3. Second, accumulated later, in just 11 months, they handled over 90,000 parts. Third, precision. They aligned sheet metal parts within about 5 millimeters. Finally, intelligence locomotion. Over 1.2 million autonomous steps inside the plant. Humanoid robots go beyond automation by replacing strenuous labor and precision. The future is no longer ahead, it is happening now. Now, let's look at the economics. Human labor costs about $30 per hour, but the digital robot operates at just $10 to $12. And the reliability, Amazon achieved 98% picking success rate over 18 months pilot. Low cost, higher reliability. To address deepening labor imbalance and population decline, robot adoption is becoming a critical source of economic value, efficiency, and future competitiveness. Yeah. Second is a generalist. That is stand on three pillars: vision, action, vision, language, and action. We call it the VLA model. Yep. So, sorry. Specialists do just one task, but generalist is very general and every task will do. So we think the specialist is a generalist is different to develop. So we focus on the second one is a generalist. And the generalist learns many jobs within a single model, and its workplace is not a factory. It's our every world, the home. So home is different every day, different object, and different situation. That's the challenge we call distribution shift. To deal with, intelligence integration through Robot Foundation model is accelerating. Its core is VLA, See, Understand, Act. The global race in Robot Foundation model is taking two paths. First, architecture. Second is openness. The Google RT2 use a single model. Others, such as NVIDIA GRUT and Figure Helix, physical intelligence, Phi0, use dual system that separate the past action from slow reasoning. Openness, most models are closed, but Stanford and Berkeley's OpenVLA choose the open source path. Single or dual, or closed or open. The strategy diverged, but the competition only intensified. But every robot foundation model eventually faced the same task. Can it work in the real world? The challenge is called simply real. Look at the robot driving on the screen, perfect in simulation, yet the real road is always different. So like just autonomous driving, the real world always brings new situations. So commercialization needs not just the technology, but validation and patience. But there is an even bigger question. Driving well and yielding to others are different things. We want the latter. Beyond the capability towards value alignment, the future belongs not to the smartest robot, but to the wisest one. Yeah, so I will conclude. This brings us to the final question: how do humans, AI, and robot evolve together? So, because the goal is not simply better robot, it is a better future for human and machines together. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. My name is Yeon from Seoul National University. I am a former Chief Director of Smart City National Strategic Program in 2018. So maybe as times more than 7 years is passed, so there are so many abrupt changes of technology side. So my argument is the city is that city is moving beyond the conventional smart cities. So it's a great honor to be here to introduce my concept of AI city and AI robot co-evolution. Maybe Deloitte spotlight the future technologies, for example, spatial intelligence and the AI and the cyber trust and many technologies. But I think AI city is related to all of these technology trends. I explain more detail in next slide. So actually, I define the evolution of cities like this. First stage is traditional cities in industrial evolution in maybe 18, 19 centuries. Now, I think after 2010, for example, China designed the city brain in Hangzhou 2018. Nowadays, many cities are tried to AI city, especially in Korea. The AI city is the national agenda of our government. So there are little difference between the traditional city to evolution AI cities. For example, traditional cities and smart cities is a passive model, a static model. But I think the AI city is a dynamic city model in the future. So thinking about the artificial intelligence and big data can't give some value for something. But in the case of artificial intelligence, they combine the cloud computing and system software and any other computing system with AI tools. They can learn and predict, and they can make some decide something. So that makes our future society more smarter and intelligent and predictive. But what's the role of human in the future? That is our question. Thinking about the robotics, the industry spectrum, the environmental condition of industry, for example, manufacturing and logistics, they use robotics for so long. But nowadays, Dr. Che explained the physical AI. They adopted some physical AI, Atlas and figure AI, blah, blah, blah. So maybe it expanded to the construction area and the healthcare area and any other areas nowadays. How can adapt this robotics in our society? How can we replace these human labors with this robotics efficiency and effectiveness? And thinking about AI tools, there are so many AI spectrum, physical AI and agentic AI and multi-agent AI, blah, blah, blah. Most of these AI are related to cities. The city is the second to universe as a complex system in the world. So thinking about the population rate of a city, even if the area of a city is just 3% of world territory, but the population of a city is more than 55 or 57%, and the productivity of economy governs maybe 70%, and the carbon emission is about maybe 70% in the world. So thinking about the city's function, the important comparison between the smart city and AI city, I define the smart city is just information, collective information from the sensors and the systems, blah, blah, blah. But in the case of AI city, they can think is by on their tools with the generative AI and any other solutions. So they can predict, they can infer, and they can make some virtual model in the future. So we think AICT is not just a more connected and intelligent system. They can integrate many human knowledge and any other is a perception of symptoms of society and the world, and even if the is wild animals, environmental conditions also. So I think the AI can be some solutions for the climate change. So I propose three models of AI cities. First stage is AI for cities, and second is cities with AI, and the third model is AI-oriented cities. Stage 3 is a very complicated and very difficult topic. But I think maybe in 10 years we can arrive in the cities with AI, because we can data share data, and we can make some integrated systems, and we propose some digital twin model for that. And I give some two perspectives for this AI city model. One is system of systems, and second one is cyber-physical system of systems. City is known to system of systems. You know, the transportation system, energy systems, any other complicated systems are accumulated in a city. So we think these systems independently until now. But nowadays, we're thinking about adopting some AI solutions. We can make some cyber-physical systems more sophisticated and layered systems. For example, bottom line is physical layer. We can see and we can touch road and buildings, any other facilities. And after that, we put some sensor layers on these many is a physical layers, and we communicate, and we make some digital twin layer. And AI can be a processing layer, all of this, and then give some answers and give some services afterward. So we focus on the data space. Until now, we focus on the platform and centralized system, but for the adoption of AI tools, we're thinking about the distributed systems. For example, data can be shifted from one platform to the central system, and they can lose some sovereignty and privacy also. But in the case of data spaces, we can preserve some sovereignty and the possession of ownership of data. So thinking about the digital twin can be I think, a great tool to decide something. We can see the future simulation of something. Maybe afterwards, with the AI, digital twin technology can be improved. And the total loop, closed loop of AI, from perception to learn and judge and reaction. So how can we make this co-evolution of AI and robotics? So I propose some cloud and edge AI to trusted architecture. Trusted architecture is very important for AI and robots. And something like edge AI or embedded intelligence is very important for these kinds of model. So I think in AI city, AI can be a brain of cities, and the robot can be a hands and feet in the future. And thinking about the construction side, we can divide the two-sided digital layer and the physical layer. All of these things will adopt AI solutions for this process. So I propose some nervous system of AI cities. Bottom layer is just a physical urban space. And the second is IoT connected mesh layer. And the third layer is, top layer is AI city, brain and swarm robotics. And I emphasize the organism of AI city. We should know and we follow the urban metabolism, because cities consume energy, water, and material also. So how can we preserve this world, this earth, and how can we cut down the emission of carbon and many energy resources? That is very important. So I think AI solutions, AI can give some optimal solutions to these climate emissions and carbon neutral city. So future model of cities like this. One is a highly efficient and intensive urban productive and optimal operation model. And second is livable and convenient urban living model. And third one is sustainable urban model also. So my conclusion is like this. We are in the process of this AI-oriented city. So I hope Korean and many other countries go together and thinking about the Professor Kim emphasized also of our own future. We can be author of our future. Thank you for attention.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me here, especially Professor Kim, Jong. I would like to my special thanks. Okay, thank you very much. Today, my topic is the challenge, ethical issues and challenges of in the age of AI and human co-evolution. Okay. Maybe I sent an English version of PDF. Okay, so that's no problem. Okay. Today, my talk consists of two parts. The first is co-evolution, and the other is ethical issues and challenges. So the concept of co-evolution suggests that humans and technology continuously shape and transform one another. This idea can be traced through the several influential thinkers. This one is Douglas Engelbart. He argued that technology and augments human intelligence, enhancing collective problem-solving capacities. And Andy Clark's theory of extended mind proposes that human cognition extends beyond the brain into external artifacts such as computers and AI systems. From this perspective, humans are natural-born cyborgs and whose cognitive capacities have always evolved through interactions with technology. And okay, posthumanist thinker further developed this argument. Catherine Hayes maintains that humans, machines, information systems form an integrated cognitive ecology in which all components evolve together. Next one is Latour. Latour's the well-famous agent network theory challenges the assumption that agents belongs exclusively to human beings, suggesting that technology always participates in shaping and social reality. Donald Haraway argues the boundaries between humans and machines are increasingly blurred and that future societies must move beyond anthropocentrism toward new forms of coexistence. Similarly, Yukai's concept of techno-diversity emphasizes that human-AI coevolution would not follow a single universal trajectory, but should reflect diverse cultural traditions and technological futures. Despite their differences, these approaches share a common insight. AI is not simply an instrument, but a socio-technical agent that co-evolves with the human beings through ongoing interaction with cognitive, social, and institutional processes. These perspectives raise fundamental questions about coexistence. If AI systems become increasingly autonomous, can they be considered a moral agent? Or can robots possess agency? Can they become citizens? Such questions have already emerged in public debates. At the same time, critics argue that current AI systems remain far from possessing the autonomy, consciousness, and responsibility necessary for citizenship or moral agency. Rather than replacing humans, AI may be most valuable in a correlative partner in companions of human capabilities. However, co-evolution is not merely a technological issue. It is also an ethical and political challenge. The rapid diffusion of AI has generated a series of ethical concerns. The first concerns bias, discrimination, and manipulations. AI systems are trained on historical data that often reflect existing social inequalities. The well-known CHRIMPF system, the well-known CHRIMPF case illustrates these social inequalities dilemmas. If an AI predicts a higher risk of recidivism among the African American defendants, is the outcome evidence of racial discrimination, or is it simply reproducing historical crime data? Similar concerns arise when platform companies manipulation recommendations such algorithmic situation. This one is in 2020, the Korean Fair Trade Commission fined Naver about the manipulation. Now the case is still going on, but anyway, in the case of Fair Trade Commission, argued Naver made the manipulation, but Naver made counter argumentation. It's not manipulation, but just overhaul the training or articulating the algorithm. So it is still going on. So most cases of ethical issues are still very, very controversial, but it also help us thinking about what is ethics and what is the traditional thinking of our thoughts. Okay, the next. Okay. I'm sorry, this person is not an English person, so I have some, I'm a little bit, okay. The second question is regarding the generative AI. Generative means generation, really, literally. So, okay. Regarding the generative AI, I will question the generative AI can be credited as an author. Okay, so the second challenge concerns generative AI, truth and authorship. Large language models generate text and predicting statistically probably word sequences. I think they do not understand, I think, the meaning or factual reality in the way humans do. As Emily Bender famously argued, such systems function as very stochastic patterns, producing convincing linguistic outcomes without genuine comprehension. This limitation helps explain why generative AI systems can produce hallucination. Although future AI systems may reduce the frequency of hallucinations, but they are not likely to, although the future AI systems may reduce the frequency of hallucinations, they are unlikely to eliminate them entirely. Indeed, the great danger may be that hallucinations become increasingly difficult to detect. Generative AI also raises questions about authorship and intellectual responsibility. Can AI be credited as an author or academic work? Most academic communities have answered negatively. According to the International Committee of Medical Journal Editor, authorship requires not merely contribution, but also accountability. So, that debate reminds us that authorship not merely about producing text, but about taking responsibility for knowledge claims. The third critical challenge concerns distributive and environmental justice. AI promises enormous economic benefits, but these benefits are not distributed equally. Wealth generated by AI is often concentrated among a small number of technology companies and highly skilled individuals, while many workers face uncertainty regarding employment and economic security. At the same time, AI development imposes significant environmental costs. Training and operating large-scale AI models require enormous amounts of electricity, water, and computational infrastructures. Yet, those who benefit from AI are often different, may experience increased energy consumption, water shortage, and environmental degradations, while economic benefits flow elsewhere. This creates a serious form of environmental injustice. In conclusion, I think the real question is what kind of co-evolution we want to create. Human and AI co-evolution should be guided by ethically desirably. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for our presentations. I truly appreciate your insightful and valuable presentation. And it is not a surprise to take more times and more times than and we planned. But we took 10 minutes more than our agenda, but I will manage that, okay? And I will start by asking each panelist a question related to their area of expertise, and then we'll move on a general question for all panels and audience here. So first, Dr. Choi, in your view, what is the most critical technical bottleneck to realizing artificial general intelligence, so-called AGI, and general purpose robot, GPR? And how likely do you think it is that we'll see robots with human level adaptability and learning capability in the near future?
Yes, I think the bottleneck isn't not a computing power, it's just the data. Large language model, LLM, grows up based on the internet, but the robot have no internet of their own. So today, a human demonstrate every single move or teleoperate the robot by hand, one trajectory at a time. So its data is very expensive, slow, never enough. So two answers: amplify the data in simulation, then converge it into a single fallacy, a robot foundation model. Solve the data, and the engine is a general purpose robot turned on. And the robot has already human level adaptability. So yes, it's coming, but not in a single ChatGPT moment. Just in structured settings, and robots already surpass us. That's all.
Okay, thank you. The next question to Professor Jong. AI and robotics seem capable of making our cities smarter and intelligent and so on. But what will make our cities more human, and how can future smart cities achieve both goals at the same time?
Thank you. Actually, thinking about our cities, we don't think of AI. Our city is humane and citizen-centered cities. I don't think so, because most smart cities and many other cities emphasize just the technology. They should think of social interaction and how can we solve some inequality of society and many other things. So thinking about the AI and the robotics, I emphasize the cityness. Cityness is the definition is like the crossroad of divergent livability of citizens is very complicated and very exciting. So Saskia Sassen emphasized the cityness is very important for the global cities. So AI and robot pursues the cityness of a city. That means the human-centered cities, but it is very difficult. Okay.
Okay. The next question to Professor SCHRIMPF. We get the build. Okay. Hi, Martin. Schön, dich zu sehen. Servus. Okay.
Hi, Seoul.
Okay. Has recent progress in AI led to any new insights into how the human brain works? And conversely, what do you think as the most important contribution that neurosciences can make to the future development of artificial intelligence, Martin?
Yeah, so to answer the first part, I think the biggest insight that we're getting is that the brain actually looks less like a tangle of biological accidents and more like an optimal solution. And we see that because when we train AI to just do a task, like to see, to hear, and read, it spontaneously develops brain-like internal representations. And that's true across every sense that the field has tested so far. So intelligence seems to converge, and AI is answering exactly that. But we've also found that making AI better at some tasks has stopped making it more brain-like and has plateaued. I think that's exactly where neuroscience can come back in, because, yeah, as we know, the brain is proof that general intelligence can run quite effectively. And what neuroscience, I think, can provide is basically a guiding function and constraints to make AI more like the brain. So, for instance, if you have different AI models, neuroscience can tell us which of those actually looks most like the brain, and also give some inspiration for next generation AI models that might lead towards the kind of AGI capabilities that we're of course all interested in.
Okay. And Professor Jong? Yes. From a post-human perspective, AI and robotics can be seen as increasingly extending human cognitive and physical capabilities. In that context, how do you think being human will be defined in the future, and what aspects of our humanity should we perceive, and what should we be willing to go up? Please.
Okay, thank you very much. In philosophy, we have various kinds of concept of human beings, first of all. So everybody has another understanding of what human beings are. So in the future also, our understanding may be different each according to each conceptions or cultures. But in post-human sense, first of all, we have to think ourselves the core essence of autonomy, first of all, and we have to take responsibility in various ways. So that is the way, I think that is the way we can understand and rebuild the human dignitas in digital world. Okay.
So last question to Professor Kim. As AI and robots become capable of performing more and more cognitive and physical tasks in our life, and what do you believe the role of humans will be, and how should it be defined? Please.
Okay, I think I have two answers to that question. First off, I don't think it's actually meaningful to search for human roles in any ways, because first, you know, it's the first argument. So suppose something's not replaceable by AIs. Would you choose that as your purpose just because it's irreplaceable, right? So the goal of your life shouldn't be not to be replaced, right? That's very sad. That's not a life worth pursuing. So that's my first answer. The second answer is a bit more practical. So here's my argument. A very simple, but I think it's really powerful argument. First off, my only assumption is that nothing in the world is perfect. Right? Nothing in the world is perfect. Everything is imperfect in one way or another. So from that, it immediately follows nothing that AI will ever produce is perfect. So there will always be imperfection in AI production, AI-produced works. Right? What would be the human role then? Make it better, right? You can add your own values to whatever AIs produce, then that would be your role. And, you know, so suppose AI produced, say, 90 out of 100 work, then you add just one more point to it, right? And I think it's something like an compound interest rate, right? So as you improve AI-produced works over time, right, you'll be immensely valuable. Your contribution will be immensely valuable. So I don't think we have to worry about uniquely human role. All we have to do is, as we always have done so far, just add new values to what we have. Yeah, that would be my answer.
Thank you very much. And we have just 3 or 4 minutes more, and therefore it is final question for open discussion of what we think about together. The co-evolution of AI and robotics has already begun, as we see in these presentations of our panels. Over the next 10 years, what the capabilities do you think humans must develop, evolve, And what should society be preparing for? What do you think? First? Professor Kim? Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Professor Jong.
First of all, the literacy. In some sense, AI literacy is one of the essential capabilities. In philosophical terms, it may be understood as critical thinking. What is and what is not, and what should do, what should not do. So we make, however, anyway, we may try to clear distinction between not and not doing. And so the AI literacy is the essential capacity. Okay.
Yes. My question, my answer is similar to Professor Jong. I think the capabilities a human must develop is AI literacy and collaborative skills. And the second one is non-technical and human-centric skills. And the third one is ethical reasoning and moral leadership. So I totally called this human-machine symbiosis. And what should society prepare for is redesign the education system, and we make some robust ethical and regulatory framework. And the third one is social safety nets and inclusive or circular economies. And the last one is foster public trust and awareness in the future. That's it.
Yeah, very short. I think sense of purpose and dedication is most needed. You know, you might feel, oh, AI produced works are much better than what I can do. Like I see a lot of students here, right? But then you can easily lose the sense of purpose, right? Or sense of commitment to your own work, because you know you can just produce good work by a single click, and that's much better than what you do, right? But as I said, nothing's perfect in the world, and you can always add values. So please do not lose the sense of purpose. You can always add values and have trust in yourself, and you know, and find what you love and pursue that. And that's, I think, all I need for AI in the time of AI.
Okay, I'm now forced to finish the session. We have to come to the end of this session. First of all, I would like to thank all of our speakers to their insightful presentations and thoughtful discussion. And your perspectives have greatly enriched today's conversation on the co-evolution of AI and robots and humanities also. I'd like to thank also the audience for your active participant, patience and attention. I'm sorry. Although we are concluding this session here, I have the questions and ideas related to this session will continue to resonate and to inspire further discussion beyond this room and pause. And thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much. Vielen Dank, Martin. Ciao. Tschüss.